Well, if I can't burn firewood, I can make a fortune selling it. Stuff's going for a high price nowadays, $300 a cord. That's 3 truckloads. That's 3 of my little small truckloads. This video is going to go in a lot of different directions. At least it's going to seem like it's going to go in a lot of different directions, but it has a point. I'm told all the time in the comment section that government is doing things and neighbors are doing things and you can't do anything. You're not free in this country anymore. And I keep saying I've never been freer. Now, it took some finagling to do that. Ended up, I came back to my home state. I looked all over the country to find a freer place, and Missouri happened to be the most free place I could find. What's interesting is a couple decades ago, the state was really trying to take your freedoms away. It was, well, I don't want to get into political affiliations, but it was leaning one way, and now it leans way the other way, and it seems like this is a lot freer. For example, we are a constitutional carry state now. The first time I bought a pistol, well, actually my dad gave it to me. I had to go to the gun store to get it transferred, make sure I could have a pistol. And then I had to go to the sheriff's office to get the same paperwork filled out by the sheriff. And I had to pay them $30. So, you know, just paying money to everybody for a free pistol. Well, now you just go to the gun store and get one. It really is not that complicated anymore. And if your dad wants to give you a gun, here, son. Thanks, Dad. I really am happy to be in Missouri. Now, you got to get away from the cities. And the 3 major cities I would consider St. Louis, Columbia, Kansas City. Springfield is trying to do that, but I don't think Springfield will ever do it because it's still down in the hillbilly range. Hillbilly is a Missouri term. It means you're lived in the hills of Missouri. People are always telling me the government is regulating more and more and they can't do as much. One of the examples I get all the time is your meter base on your house determines how much electricity you're using is now electronic. And they can't shut off or regulate how much electricity you can have. And then they're putting in these smart thermostats and they're making you sign contracts. At least that's my understanding. I don't know. I don't have anything like that. So they can turn down your air conditioner if you're using too much during peak hours or whatever it is, or if they're getting ready to shut down because there's too much electricity being used. And of course, I keep saying, just minimize your life. Nobody seems to listen to me. I mean, maybe a few of you do, but in general, I'm just told I'm crazy all the time. I only pay $50 a month in electric. Well, I know that's bull. I was paying $50 a month in electric and I was never home. We lived in a little 400 square foot house and we were paying $50 in the summer. We weren't using the air conditioner, and then we had to pay for propane in the winter. So you got to add that onto your cost. I don't believe this $50 stuff. So you can call me crazy all you want. I'm not being regulated by the electric company and the government and whoever else wants to be involved in me paying someone each month to use their services to their criteria. I made a video yesterday where I was talking about how customer satisfaction, all these companies now regulate what you can have, insurance, electric companies, gas companies. And then I just heard that there's some agency getting ready to monitor reports from your neighbor. So they're establishing this system. I don't know all the details yet. I don't even know how true it is, but they're going to establish the system so your neighbor can call you in if you have a bumper sticker or two that doesn't go the way they want you to go. So they're constantly monitoring you. And then we hear about cell phones. Everybody's talking about cell phones. Oh, they're just monitoring your cell phone. Well, the one thing that I just can't understand, and we should have learned this through that epidemic that we had. They were tracking you on your cell phone. They knew who was going where and when and how often, monitoring the spread of the thing, and we didn't learn. So people are still complaining how they're tracking you. When I go out, I don't take my cell phone with me. I don't need it. Why would I need it? Now, if I'm going on a long trip, I'll take it. In case there's an emergency, I need to make a phone call, but typically I just shut it off. I don't have it on. Saves on battery. because I don't want to take the battery charger with me. Take, you know, how much junk do you want to take in your car? Besides that, you're not even really supposed to be watching your phone, so just shut it off. Take the battery out. I know some people will say they can still track you. Well, maybe, but at least I'm trying to be proactive, but I never take it with me. But people take their phones with them and then complain that they're being tracked. Well, we know this. Why are we so oblivious to this? There are cameras everywhere. They watch you every second of the day. They were talking about this in the 90s in a Will Smith movie about some conspiracy thing going on, and they were tracking him. We know this. So why are we so shocked when it actually happens? This is why, well, at least some of the reason I live here. I try to stay off the grid as much as possible. Now, I know I'm on YouTube, and that is a big problem. I get it. But I still have to make an income. And the nice thing about YouTube, say what you will about it, is I can stay on the property, stay away from people, stay away from conflict, stay away from being tracked, and I can make videos on how to set up solar panels and feed chickens. I mean, if that's going to be a crime, which it may be one of these days, I mean, that's what the conspiracy theorists say, then there's no way I can hide it anyways. They're going to find out that I have chickens because I'm going to the feed store to buy chicken food. And they're going to know I don't have electric, I'm not hooked up to the electric grid, so they may know that I'm on solar panels. Although they want me on solar panels, so think about the logic of that. They want you on solar panels, but then they don't want you off grid. What is the logic? So, I mean, you can get so twisted up in these conspiracy theories, but I do agree that if you have a meter base, they can regulate and monitor the electricity you use. And quite probable, they can start deciding if they're going to punish you for using too much electric. But they could have done that without these modern meter bases. All they got to do is send a guy out, read your meter. Oh, you used too much this month, and just take your meter base out. But now they can control it and regulate how much you have, and won't let you run your air conditioner throughout the day. Or I guess the evening is when it's supposed to be. I don't know. I don't have a meter, so I don't know. And then the same thing with gas. Everybody's telling me that they monitor how much gas you buy through your credit card usage. And of course, I always try to use cash whenever I can. We don't go anywhere. We only go to the store about once a month. So if they're monitoring me, the only thing they see is me leaving, going to the grocery store, coming back. Sometimes we have to make a separate trip, like this month, we're gonna have to make a separate trip. Raccoons got a hold of our chicken food. So sometimes emergencies happen and you have to make a separate trip. So this month we'll make 2 trips to town to go get feed. But again, pretty routine, nothing unusual. They know if I'm leaving, then I'm going to the grocery store or I'm going to the feed store. If they start regulating that, well, there's not much I can do about it. But I don't give them a bunch of information that I'm going to this secret society meeting, or I'm going to this bar, or this, well, I won't get into all the nasty things people are trying to hide from themselves, from the government. So we just stay parked. I have filled the gas on the truck one time in the last 2 months. And the only reason I really filled it was because I needed gas for the generator. I filled a 5-gallon jug of gasoline, which I didn't really need. I filled that maybe 2 weeks ago. I don't know, it's been a while. I just don't use a lot of gas. I use the truck so little that I only change the oil about once a year. Now I know somebody's gonna say, oh, you're supposed to change it every 6 months or every 3 months. I don't believe that. I actually had a mechanic tell me, and I kind of agree with him, that if you change the oil, especially with the new synthetic oil, when the gauge on your instrument panel tells you to change the oil, that's good enough. So I change it once a year for the last several years. But this year, we're already through the year. Only got a couple months to go. And we were only down, I think, 20% on the oil. So I changed it in January. This is September, so I only got a few more months. I'll go way past January. So we don't use the truck that much. That's 6,000 miles. The average vehicle use is 18,000 miles per year. So another thing that I just found out in the comment section I was surprised when it happened, but I'm not really that surprised once I got to thinking about it, is now they are monitoring, since I think April, how much propane you use. Now the truck comes out, fills your 250 or 500 gallon propane tank. There's several ways you can get propane. You can call and say, hey, I need my tank filled. Or you can set yourself up on a payment plan where they come out on a regular basis and fill it up, and they send you a monthly bill based on your usage. Now, when I was in my 20s, I went with that plan. But when I got older, we lived in that little 400 square foot house I was telling you about, and I just called them up when I needed it. Now, this person just told me they always buy propane during the fall, or right before fall, September, before the prices go up. And that's a good thinking. You should go do it before winter time. So the company told them when they filled up their tank that they're going to put on a monitor on their tank to determine if they got leakage or if they need to get their tank refilled. So there's no more, I'm going to call you to come out in the fall to fill my tank. They're just going to come out when they think they should come out. Well, once again, we can start with the conspiracy theories, thinking, oh, they may monitor how much propane we're using and shut us down if we're using too much. Just like the speculation is with the electric. I have tried to advocate that everybody get a wood stove. Now, I know people who tried to get a wood stove and it's going to cost them $10,000 to get it installed into their home professionally. I installed our wood stove for the very first time, never done it in my life, by simply watching YouTube videos. I did not make a YouTube video on how to do it. One, because it was my first time. And two, at the time I didn't have a GoPro that I could put on my forehead. I had a cell phone. So being up on the roof and cutting holes and all that, I mean, I took a picture and I talked about what I was doing, but I didn't go into detail. There are lots of good videos out there on how to do it. You go to Tractor Supply, you can buy all the chimney components you need. You go get the wood stove from Home Depot. But here's the problem, is people don't want to get these expensive wood stoves. The EPA efficient wood stoves. They want to get an old time one or build one on their own. And I talked about this in my videos a lot. They always call me an idiot. Oh, you're an idiot. You're a shill for the government. No, I'm just smart. One, the efficient EPA wood stoves don't use as much firewood. That's gotta be a good thing considering it's hard work to get firewood. Another reason I think you should get the EPA wood stove is because it doesn't create any smoke. You can't smell the wood. I know that's a great feeling. You wake up in the morning, walk outside, and you smell that hickory or that oak. And I guess if in the Northwest, that pine. I know it's a great feeling, but you don't want your neighbors calling you in. And that is what's happening. This is why many, and I've said this in lots of videos, municipalities are banning wood stoves. You got this big plume of smoke coming out of your wood stove. It's going right into your neighbor's window, or when they open the door, and then they're claiming, oh, it's causing my asthma to flare up. Oh, I'm getting cancer because of it. So they call up the city hall and they say, hey, mayor, I want John to get rid of his wood stove. So the next city hall meeting they have, they vote, they ban wood stoves. Fire department comes out and writes you a big ticket for burning wood stoves. They go out to the insurance companies, pay them big bucks to keep you from being able to get insurance if you have a wood stove. So it makes sense to get an EPA friendly wood stove. That way your neighbor doesn't even know you're burning it. You can't tell when I'm burning firewood. You can tell barely as it's heating up, but once it gets up to temperature, maybe 20 minutes, there's just no smoke coming out. It's just a little heat wave. You know, you see those heat waves out of chimneys. That's all you see. And it just, so yeah, there are a lot of neighbors turning neighbors in because of having a wood stove. Eventually, they're just going to ban wood stoves altogether because there's, I don't think, any way, I could be wrong, they may figure it out, how to monitor your usage. Like propane, like gas, like electric, like your travel, like your gasoline. All the things they want to monitor. There's not really, I don't think, a way to monitor firewood. I'm sure somebody in the comment section said, oh yeah, they can. I do know that in some of the Northeast states, I think like New York, You can only get firewood from certified people. So they go and get a license to cut firewood. Make sure it's dried before they sell it to you. And I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, that you can actually go and get your own firewood. You have to buy it from these certified people. So in those kind of states, they could monitor how much firewood you're using. But I do think that if you get as much off-grid as possible, especially for those who are upset about the way the government and companies are monitoring you, if you can get on the solar panels, reduce the amount of electric you're using, use firewood, stop driving, stop taking your cell phone everywhere, your life's going to be happier. So if you'll click this up next box to take you to a video where I was talking about that you may need to start thinking about the IRS coming for your bank account.